Wound tight as a screw sat the old man, counting his coins from finger to hand. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when the store should have closed. But Scrooge squeezed every penny and scrunched up his nose at the ridiculous notion that business should stop. Christmas? Bah humbug! I'll not shut my shop. His clerk, Bob Cratchit, sat near and shivered, and asked if old Scrooge might soon deliver some pieces of coal to warm the cold room, to brighten the fire, and chase away the gloom. But Scrooge scowled at the man, and frostily said, "Bah humbug, Bob Cratchit! Put another hat on your head." Soon his nephew Fred came calling to say, "Come join us for dinner on Christmas Day." "Thanks for the offer, but I won't be along. I pray to no one, and I offer no songs." Then two jolly gents came asking Scrooge to give, that the poor and homeless might have more to live. "Get out, be gone, you're taxing my mind. Bah humbug to you and all of your kind." Later that night, in his dark and cold home, with a blanket on his lap and a cap on his dome, he heard a sound that rattled his brains, then turned and saw a phantom covered in chains. The spirit approached. A chill filled his bones. Scrooge saw it to be a man he'd known, a business partner who'd died in a flash, who'd lived only for property, for gold and for cash. The face of the figure was grim and snarly. "By God, I thought you were dead, Jacob Marley." "'Tis I, and I come with a warning for you. Scrooge, be very, very careful with what you do, for unless you wish to wander the earth like me, as a hungry ghost for eternity, you must see the truth, change your ways, redeem yourself for the future's days. 3 spirits will visit thee this very night. You'll journey with them. They'll show you some sights. This is your last chance, Scrooge, to change your fate, or else end up like me, locked in infinite ache." And poof, Jacob Marley disappeared, and Scrooge, exhausted and full of fear, collapsed into deep sleep. With a start, the old man arose to see standing there in tattered clothes a child with skin gray as the dead, with sunken eyes and a glowing head. Scrooge leapt up, his face aghast. "I'm the ghost of Christmas past, here to show you where you've been. Your hard-hearted demeanor, your stingy sins. Come along, Ebenezer, don't delay. We must get out and on our way. Pay close mind, calculate the costs of the friends and loves and all you lost. Away!" With the spirit's magic call, the pair stepped straight through the wall to stand out on a country road where Scrooge had lived in times of old. A merry carriage bustled close, with the childhood friends he'd wanted most. They laughed and smiled along their way, and sang Christmas songs for the holidays. At first his heart brightened, but it quickly grew dim, as Ebenezer recalled how he'd refused them. Then they came to a great grand home, where Scrooge saw his boy self sitting alone, with a stack of books piled end to end, with fantastical stories, but not one single friend. The very next instant, the spirit led Scrooge along to the home of his mentor from times long gone. Master Fezziwig, a fat, jolly fellow, was welcoming friends with a voice that bellowed, "Come in, come in, come in, don't leave. There's plenty for all this Christmas Eve. Turkey and ham, the pudding's here soon. The fiddler will play, we'll dance to his tunes." Then Fezziwig and his missus twirled round the room as Scrooge looked on with regret and gloom, that he'd known of this place with its joy and its grace, yet chose to live as a cold penny pinch who'd refused to open his heart one small inch. Then the spirit in vivid light unfurled the story of a lovely girl whom young Scrooge had courted, then engaged. But the beauty belle turned in rage when Ebenezer showed his honey that his passion for life was having money. When Scrooge remembered her broken heart, tears from his wrinkled eyes did start. But harder still they came down streaming when the spirit showed him a house teeming with children running everywhere, and there upon a comfy chair was Belle with all her earthly charms, with a loving husband wrapped round her arms. "Enough, spirit, enough. Don't make me see it again. I broke both our hearts, and I can't stand the pain." Then weariness, like a tidal wave from the ocean deep, fell upon Scrooge, and he drifted to sleep. Soon after the strike of one, Ebenezer heard a voice summon. The ghost of Christmas present appeared, huge and jolly, with berries in his hair and a cloak of holly. "I'm here to take you to the truth of today, that you may know this holiday." The next moment brought them to the snow-capped walks of the avenue. The two hurried straight along as people hummed and sang their songs. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! A turn to the left, another to the right, and they were before Bob Cratchit's house that night. Scrooge watched the humble preparations as the family set out their decorations. They sang happily as they did their labors, hung candy canes and stars cut from paper. And on the table's centerpiece was the main attraction of their feast. Not a turkey, nor a ham, not even chickens, but a gorgeous goose with all the fixins. Hobbling about was frail Tiny Tim, Cratchit's young boy with his crippled limb. But something about Tim's demeanor startled crotchety Ebenezer. The lad was poor and lived in pain, and rich old Scrooge walked fine without a cane. But the twinkle in Tim's eye and the glee in his laughter were treasures beyond the gold Scrooge had been after. Right then, a key began turning. Ebenezer's locked-up heart began yearning. A quiet voice deep within said, "Do something good for Tiny Tim." Before the spirit left Scrooge that night, he lifted his coat, revealing an awful sight. There, huddled, cold, and frightened, were two sad children who quickly tightened their grip onto one another, who looked like they'd just lost their loving mother. "See them, Scrooge. By your indifference, these children, want and ignorance, wander the streets alone, with no one to teach them or give them a home." The yearning that started with Tiny Tim now grew like a fire within him. For one more turning of the key, the spirit brought them to Fred's house to see the warmth and love that they all had. "What's this I'm feeling?" said Scrooge. I'm feeling glad." Scrooge begged the spirit to let him stay, to be with the children and Fred that day. But the spirit declined, and out they left. Ebenezer was bereft. The ghost of Christmas present departed. He'd completed the tasks he'd started. As the spirit faded out of view, Ebenezer saw something new. From the darkness, a figure appeared that shot through him a jolt of fear. Dressed in a robe with a pointed hood, Scrooge thought, I'd run if I could. But his feet were stuck as if they were glued. All he could do was watch as the dude came closer and closer and closer. At the strike of one, yes, another one, this third spirit's turn had begun. The ghost of Christmas yet to come called, "Come, Ebenezer, now it gets fun." He took him to hear men gossiping on about a man who died, whose ship had come. They snickered and laughed about the bloke, how cheap he was, how his life was a joke. "Where did all his money go? Oh, don't ask me, I sure don't know." Scrooge wondered who the corpse could be, was mightily agitated by the mystery. Others scavenged the dead man's things, hoping for a silver spoon or ring. A poor couple sounded a sigh of relief, with not a single ounce of grief, knowing that they wouldn't have to fret, that the cheapskate was gone, and so was their debt. The dead man was a mystery. The puzzle caused Scrooge some misery. "I beg you, spirit, what is the name of the man who died, and why is it that no one has cried?" The spirit led him to where gravestones are laid, where families come, where prayers are prayed. He pointed out a burial plot, and on the headstone, the very spot where a name was carved for all time. "My God, dear spirit, that name is mine. Please, I beg you, I've learned, I've changed. From you three phantoms so much I've gained. I renounce my greed. I reject my ways. I want to live life the rest of my days. One more chance, just one more time. Please, let me redeem my selfish crimes. I'll be ever grateful. I'll give evermore. I'll welcome want and ignorance to my door. You've shown me my life from beginning to end. Now grant me an opportunity to mend. I'll honor dear Christmas. I'll sing with the boys. I'll hug all the children and give them all toys. Just grant me a chance is all I pray to celebrate one more Christmas Day. And the next thing you know, all tucked in his bed, Scrooge awoke with this thought in his head. I'm alive. I'm alive. I yet have a chance. He jumped out of bed and started to dance. I'll celebrate Christmas and do it with cheer, and every day after throughout the new year. In a hurry, he set about mending. He opened his wallet and started the spending. The Cratchits got a turkey, plump and meaty. The Jolly Gents got a donation for the needy. Fred got his Uncle Ebenezer for the Christmas meal. And Scrooge, he got a new heart. Now that is a deal. Tiny Tim lived to see it all come true. And Ebenezer Scrooge did all he could do to make Tim's life a little less of a bother. He spent time with the lad like a second father. The Cratchits welcomed him over to eat. Tiny Tim liked Ebenezer's lap as a seat. At the start of each meal, when blessings are done, you could hear Tim say, "God bless us, everyone."